stay loose, I stay hype. I could do this all night, cause I do what I like. Yeah, I do what I like. Yeah, I do what I like. Sipping goose, if it's right. And I go with the flow. Yeah, I go with the flow. Yeah, I go with the flow. Cause I know I'm the show. In the zone, here I go. In the zone, here I go. In the zone, here I go. Yeah, they know I'm a pro. Let's go, let's go. Yeah. Let's go. If I go, I'ma get. When I flow, I'ma hit. And I know I'm the kid. I'm a soul, don't forget. I'ma blow up with it. Got my flow so fitted. Here we go, just beginning. Yeah, I throw every inning. Got my flow so legit. All I know is my shit. Here I go, they can whip. Post Malone in this bitch. Rock star making hits. Got guitar in this shit. Leaving scars cause we lit. All these bars that I spit. Yeah. Let's go, let's go. Let's go. If I know what I want, then I know what I get. If I go, they can win, cause they know I get lit. I'm a pro, not a myth, and my flow got some wit. Never slow, drink a fit. I get hype, I get lit. Here I go, I get lit. Here I go, I get lit. Here I go, I get lit. I get hype for this shit. Here I go, I get lit. Here I go, I get lit. Here I go, I get lit. I get hype for this shit. Right.
My ass was definitely about to just start talking before I didn't realize I have all of my shit muted. So we're off to a great start. Anyway,
Uh,
as always, I am your demon host. And for once, we actually have Rich online and on time for once. Well, second time. So, I know Niki's definitely excited for this one, so we definitely have a little election special going on, especially for the 2024, so that's going to be exciting. So, I believe you DM'd me earlier, or yesterday, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that you want to make this into a two-part, series, so, and I said I'm okay with that.
yeah, so tonight we're going to focus on presidential elections, and then next week we'll talk about local and state and local elections.
Well, it's going to be about every state, or at least the state that we're currently in.
Not every state per se. When I say state elections, like, and like when we talk about the local governments, state governments, we're gonna pretty much do like a broaden why it's important to know who's running for your state, who's running locally in your cities or boroughs, right now, whatever.
I'm gonna just throw this out there right now, just because. If anyone is voting for Eric Adams, do me a favor, go drown in the Hudson River. Thank you very much.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, next week's we won't really focus too much on like candidates themselves. Well, like some of the major cities we will, but most of it will be to educate and show why it's important to vote in your state and local elections. Whereas tonight we're gonna dig deep into actual candidates and what's going on.
Yeah, we're also gonna be talking about like little issues as well, but some of these issues, especially when it has to do with these migrants, we do have a topic on that. I think later down the week.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna bring that up to light, which is gonna be an interesting one too, because I have a lot to say, especially being in a state that have to deal with all of this crap.
Yeah.
But anyway, introduction. As you all know, you got Neek, and you also have Mr. X, who's quiet in the background, unless he's lurking.
I'm here.
Okay, cool. So how you doing, Mr. X? Since you want to be quiet and be a mouse.
I'm doing okay. I'm hanging in there.
All right, so we're gonna get some. I'm gonna go with the flow. I know you have. I know you have your notes and such, Neek. So
I don't have
um,
like notes for like everything. I have notes for like
because I have no idea what you research. I'll just put it that way.
well, we were supposed to all three like discuss about our own personal political views and our candidates. That
Okay, for the record, I know I said this to you guys, but nobody else, and I'm pretty sure I mentioned this in one of these streams. I can't remember which one. But I did say that I did switch my party because I was originally a Democrat. And I will say this right now, Democrat at this point in time sucked. So I changed my party from Democrat to a different one. For many different reasons. But I do know we do have another Democrat. I think Rich is one of them. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong.
no, Rick's is an
Independent.
Oh, he's independent. Okay, then never mind. I take that back.
I
Eh,
had been independent for a long time, but according
yeah, but you're thinking
uh
like a Democrat. I'm just messing
Oh
with you.
gosh, you say you think like a Democrat.
I gotta throw some shade in there. Come on, don't hate me on this. But anyway, Nick, I believe you're what are you again? Because I know you think you're Republican, but you're also something else
I'm a conservative, but I'm registered.
as a Republican.
Yeah.
Alright, so original candidate, I do know that I still have two people on the Republican side, and I do believe we have one, or might be wrong, because I do know that Biden is running for it, which I don't know why a senior citizen is running for it, but you know, whatever. It is what it is.
Because since he's the president, he does get priority.
Well, besides that.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, what you got for me? I'm gonna put you on the spot, Nick.
Okay, so I think right now, if I'm not wrong, we have Biden and Philip in the Democrat running. Republican, we have Trump, Haley, and Binkley. An independent, we have Kennedy West Stein.
What's his name? Like Robert something?
Robert F.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
So, Rick, can I ask you? You're an independent. Which independent candidate are you leaning toward?
which independent?
Yes.
Well, I hadn't really researched who are the independents. You said it's Robert Kennedy. Sound like he's the only one running, unless there's
No,
several others.
there's three. There's Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Cornel West, and Jill.
I thought Cornel West dropped out. Okay, that's interesting.
I don't know. According to this, which was updated today, those are in running.
Hello?
We hear you.
There were so I mean, see, Robert F. Kennedy. Yeah. We know he's related to John F. You know,
He's
Makes me
something.
think
He's
he's
something.
the maybe the son or the grandchild of Robert Kennedy, who was once Attorney General for the United States.
Yeah, he's the nephew of John F.
But didn't they? But I think correct me if I'm wrong, but I might be just like a little bit wrong, or at least from what I understand. Didn't he? Wasn't he running as a Democrat, but then he decided to drop, no, not drop out, but change his party to independent?
Yes, because Democrats suck. But anyways, he's
I'm guessing it's Robert Kennedy.
yeah, Robert Kennedy running independent. He is very anti-vaccine.
Okay, that's good.
He was an environmental lawyer. Okay. So the biggest thing that they have here for him is that he's anti-vaccine. Okay, woohoo, anti-vaccine. Anything else?
Anything else? That's the thing. Like that's what I don't understand either. Because I'm like, so he dropped out from Democrat just because to become an independent, just because, like, why? Just because he's anti-vaccine? Like, make it make sense.
All right, Jill Stein, a physician who ran for president on the Green Party ticket in 2012 and 2016, is seeking the party's nomination for a third time. Like, dude, come on. Once you can't get it so many times, just stop. But anyways, she called for an economic bill of rights that would include a guaranteed right to employment, healthcare, housing, food, and education, and also highlighted support for combating climate change, protecting abortion. Oh, she's out of my. All right. I don't vote independent anyways, but yeah, like you lost me at climate change. I'm not even gonna read the rest. Colonel West has taught at Yale. Yeah, we get it. Princeton and Harvard, you're smart. I get it. Okay. He is known for his progressive activism. Oh, progressive, that throws me off already, including his sharp criticism.
You haven't even got not even 3 sentences in there. You're already getting angry.
Bernie. Oh hell no! If he's like Bernie Sanders, we don't want him.
How many times this man is warning?
I'm going to speak from what I heard. Bernie said something about, he talked to one of those night show guys, said he would not give a nickel to Netanyahu, which is the Israeli prime minister. And I'm like, I'm glad he's not the president of the United States.
But here's the thing. But here's my problem with Bernie Sanders. This man is old. He's older than anybody put together. So I don't understand how many times this man is gonna keep on running. This, even though how does he gotten that one vote?
That's what I'm saying. Like once you lose, like that's why I like Nikki Haley. Once so many times.
I personally do not like her whatsoever because I'm pretty sure if you haven't seen the video right now, but if you have seen like little clips of it, but the only reason why I'm not voting for her whatsoever, it mainly because she wanted to do the retirement age to 70. And I'm like, I am not working my ass off until 70 when the life expectancy is 79 years old. So I work until 70. I have maybe 2 or 3 years, and then I can finally retire. No, I'm not doing that.
They don't realize one thing is that Nikki Haley and other people don't realize there are not, I'm not going to say there are a bunch of people are not over 70, but there are people who can live up to 70, but when you hit over 70 mark, these people start dying off. So the question is, how long do you live?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
But I mean, that sounds like a crazy number. Like, oh my God, 70 years old. But y'all do know the full retirement age right now is 67, right? So that's literally 3 years longer than what it is now.
I mean, I'm perfectly fine with that. But you tell me I'm gonna be working until I'm 70. You can kiss my fucking ass, but I am not doing that.
Well,
I mean, But I mean, what I'm saying is, if 70 sounds bad to you, then so should 67. Because right now you have to be 67 to retire with benefits.
Well,
I mean,
see,
there
here's
are
the
a
thing.
few that retire even beforehand, even before
Yeah, but
Here's
you
the
67.
don't get.
thing is
But early retirement does not come with full benefits. To get your full benefits,
that's
you have to be
exactly what I was
67.
trying to say. Is that you will not get a full payment benefit, but when you wait till you get to like an age that they suggest you will get a little bit more of your paycheck.
What
Yeah,
about the
so
boomers?
the
Here's
age
the,
of retire
what
age of
about the boomers?
retirement.
That's what I want to know.
Here's the thing: the age of retirement is the age to get your full retirement. So it's not saying you have to retire at 67 or 70. It's just saying unless if you retire earlier, you only get partial benefits. If you want your full retirement benefits, you have to at least be this age. Um, so I mean, you could still retire before that and get partial benefits, whatever.
But you get a
I mean,
raise every year, every I forgot what they call it. I think it's called COLA, cost of living adjustment.
yeah.
Well, here's the thing
But
with the cost of living adjustment. I'm pretty sure, like, if you live in one of the red states, and by red states I mean states like Florida, Virginia, and I
And
want to say
California, you get
no
paid
California.
more.
No, California is a blue state, but I'm talking about red states right now.
Yeah, but you get paid
hold on,
more.
Go ahead, Rick.
Let's say for example, if I were to move to California right now, my disability payment would go up because I mean California is more expensive. It's going to be based on where you live too.
Well, yeah, it's like, but here's the thing, that's not the case for everybody, because I live in New York, and in New York, as everybody knows it, it's extremely expensive. Especially just to rent
Not
like a
now
one
you said
bedroom. Not to
that
mention,
Manhattan is out of your price range.
so is Queens, so is Brooklyn, so is the Bronx, so is Staten Island. You can ask anybody who lives here, all the local New Yorkers here, they'll tell you the same thing. All of it is extremely expensive.
I mean, I don't know if I'd call Virginia. That's what.
Well, I did say Virginia earlier, but you know,
Yeah, I mean, they voted Democrat more often. I mean,
I mean that's anywhere at this point. At this point,
well,
these people are being.
Virginia is one of those states that kind of it's in the middle. Like with Virginia, election can really like go either way.
Same thing. You can say the same thing with Texas.
Yeah.
Because correct me
Although
if I'm. Although
Texas is
Texas,
dominantly red, but they have places like Houston that are largely Democrat.
yeah, I was gonna say that too.
So it would be a lot like like California.
California has been 100% blue. They haven't been red
Well,
for.
no, that's not necessarily true though. Here's the thing though: if you rewrote the jurisdiction lines in California, California would actually be dominant red. But here's how elections in America work: you have your jurisdictions and all that stuff, right? So
District.
yeah, your districts, and your voting districts. And if you actually look even back in 2020, you looked at the voting by city and by
I mean, if you're gonna
place
go that route about city, then that's a whole, and by district, then that's a whole other story.
exactly. If and here's the problem with it. Like even in New York would be dominantly red if not for New York City. But because New York City is so large and happens to be the largest
And
city
full of
in New York,
stupid people.
New York City ultimately decides elections for the entire state of New York.
And I will say this being
For
from New York.
federal.
Yeah, but I will say this being from New York. Don't give us that power.
Yeah.
Because we're seeing it firsthand. Don't give us that power.
Well, and here's the thing, though. Like with California, their major cities being blue, like majority blue, is what decides elections for California. But if you look locally, they're really not as blue as people think. It's just that their major cities, just like here, Philadelphia ultimately decides the election in Pennsylvania
Wait, where?
and Philadelphia.
No, that's your main city,
Yeah.
isn't it?
It's one of the biggest cities here. But
Okay.
they literally they decide the election in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So and that's why I said like you can look at it from a state, but you got to break it down even further than that because a lot of these states are not actually full blue states. A lot of them are more red states with more Republican winnings inside the cities and boroughs and stuff. But you have these major cities that decide for the entire state, and I
feel like that power should be given to them because I feel like we all seen how that went.
I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I think you need to take an IQ test as a registration part of your voting registration. We need to make sure you at least know the minimum. Okay, like I'm just saying. Like, okay, so back to the elections. Oh, we're still talking about elections, but so I'm gonna ask you guys personally, and then I do have some stats here. But we'll start with you, Dean. What are your biggest issues that you're looking at going into the presidential election?
I'm pretty sure you should know this by now, and it's been on the news practically every damn day.
Well, more than just one. That can't be your only issue, and I might.
Well, I'm talking about there's two things that's literally nonstop.
Well, what are they?
The migrants is one of them, and crime is another one.
Okay.
And of course,
crime is on almost every subject.
Forget about every second, everything. It's like every millisecond. If you take a deep breath right now, one crime is already. And speaking of crime, like my phone just popped up with one thing saying there's a shooting in Jamaica.
All right, Rex, what are the hot topics for you?
Well, the hot topic is mainly America, we the people need to be more united than ever before, and that's the problem. Not everybody is on the same page. And one of the things is, and I'll give you one thing, is a hot topic with me, and it happened to me because y'all saw the letter that I showed you, where the federal government sent me a letter, and for the insurance deadline is December the 7th, and I didn't get the letter until December the 9th. And I recently asked within a week ago to the postmaster, how long did it take federal mail to get there? 10 days. I tell you, that's
Isn't 10 days like 2 weeks?
The government mail needs to be moving a lot faster than that. It don't need to be counted as bulk mail. I'm going to guarantee you. That's a hot topic. Government mail is very important to get to the people. Not wait 10 days later, because if you look at it, you got to look at your timing. You got to look at your things that you need to do before the deadline or whatever your issues may be.
I feel like that issue falls under boomer.
That's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And that's one of my hot topics is to address the issue of the United States Post Office. And yes, post office got a lot of issues these days.
No, like
and they're going up again on stamps already. 60 cents per envelope.
Oh, he definitely sounds like a boomer. Okay, Rick is gonna start the next movement.
Of all, we didn't get to you.
Hold on, I gotta say this first. Rick is gonna start the new movement. He funds the USPS.
That's hilarious.
I'm starting to what?
That's it. That's it. Go ahead, Dee.
I said you. What is your issue? What is your hot topic?
Oh, my hot topic. Okay, so I have two. Um, education and immigration. Those are my two. Education and immigration. Education first, because I'm a mom. I'm a parent of 4 kids, and I want school choice, and I also want. I'll be honest with you. I am 100% with President Trump on defunding and abolishing the federal Department of Education. I think education needs to be brought back down to the states on a state level, and then also on a local level. I don't want the federal government telling my school district in Pennsylvania what they have to teach, what they shouldn't teach, what rules they have to follow, what this they have to follow. No,
Yeah, because I've
you
been
don't
reading
know.
some of it up a few days ago now, and the amount of stuff that you guys are dealing with is absolutely insane.
Well, part of it is that the federal government, people who have never met our children in these school districts around the country, they're deciding everything for us. And they're doing it to the extent where they're saying, oh, you want federal money for your school? Well, you got to follow this rule, and that rule. And if you don't follow this rule, if you don't push this agenda, if you don't do this, you're not getting the money. No, they need to stay out of education, bring it back to the states, and then the states can put it on a local level where the districts are figuring out what's best for their kids in their district. Because I don't even want the state of Pennsylvania all the way up in Harrisburg to tell me what's good for my little school district here. You've never been to my school district. You don't know the kids. You don't know the needs in our community. Do not dictate what we need and don't need. Let us do that. I think the federal government has to get out of education because it's ruining it. It really is.
I'm gonna tell you that's a big subject in Georgia, and especially as a sore subject to me. And I'm gonna tell you
Especially here
something.
too.
Georgia has 2 different education tiers, where North Georgia's got better education, while the Southern Georgia has poor education. And it's not just farmers; they are, and I don't want to sound insulting or not. There are a lot of black peoples in the South, and they don't want to excel black people in the South. And to me, I just find it's wrong for Georgia to do what they're doing. They've been doing it for decades.
Well, and I'll be honest with you, it's not just a Georgia thing; it's a federal thing. And here's the thing, and this might be an unpopular opinion, but this is the truth. The Democrats don't want education to be where it was years ago because when you educate the people, especially the children, they're harder to control. Okay, and here's the problem: if they go into these inner cities and they build better schools, they bring better education, they bring um, better funding for more programs for after school, whether it be vocational schools or more community colleges and stuff in communities, then what happens is they end up losing that battleground topic. It's something they can't campaign on anymore. They have to be able to say, we're going to help you. We're going to help you every single election, or they're not going to get people to vote. If they actually help, they have nothing to run on. They want people to stay where they are. I don't understand why that's so hard for people to understand.
Be dumb is what you're saying.
And here's the thing:
look
what you guys are
at our
saying are also
colleges right
true.
now.
Here's another thing. And I do agree that the federal government should stay the hell out because at least here the kids on I want to say like elementary to I want to say maybe middle school into high school. I know majority of these guys they're so far behind that they don't need to do any kind of work whatsoever, and and of course the I don't know if it's a district or if it's somebody, but I know it's somebody that controls it that's telling all these teachers, hey, I know this child is failing. This how
There's
many classes. but passed them anyway. And it's like,
The
really?
district superintendent.
Yeah. And it's like, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Here's the
I
thing though.
had to bust my ass gonna go to school every single day. And you're telling me that I could just go be absent for 30 days and I can still pass? Like, how is
Here's
that
the
fair to
thing.
me?
Right now, our biggest problem with education and other things is like, well, we have so many students that are failing their, state testing and they're not excelling in this subject and this subject. So we're going to get rid of this subject, or we're going to get rid of state testing, or we're going to get rid of exams. We're going to get rid of, the Excel classes. We're going to,
I'm pretty sure
instead
they
of
even got rid of the SAT, the SAT, and the ACT as well, I think.
Yeah, which is ridiculous because here's what we're doing. We're saying instead of taking the time to pour into these kids that aren't excelling right now, we're just going to make sure that no kid excels. When the reality of it should be, we should be going into these inner city schools and we should be helping them excel. Okay, because right now every solution that is brought up by Democrats is to keep them where they are and just put everybody else with them. Well, no, that's not how that works. That's not how it should work. Because what that and I'm going to be completely honest, that to me sounds more racist than anything else. Well, these minority kids can't excel here, so we're not going to try to make them excel. We're just going to keep them where, like, no, they can excel. They can excel. Any child can excel in any subject if you put the time and effort into teaching them the subject. Don't sit there and tell me, well, they can't pass a reading assessment if the only
You
books
know,
you're still giving.
since you mentioned reading, the sad part about all of that is the fact that some of these kids don't even know how to write nor read.
Do you want to know why a lot of the kids in the inner cities can't read very well?
Because the people are failing them, clearly.
No, because, well, yeah, the system is failing them. But do you want to know how the system is failing them? Because if you have inner city schools and you go into a classroom and it's 7th grade classroom and it's majority black students. Then now, mind you, they're in 7th grade, okay? But if you looked at their reading material, they're reading 4th and 5th grade books.
Yeah, oh yeah, I know that for a fact.
And the reason that they're doing that is because the people in charge will look at the group of students and say, well, we know they're in 7th grade, but this is the 7th grade reading material, and we don't think they're going to be able to read it, so we're going to have them read this instead.
There's a thing I've heard a lot of when people get out of school, high school, plenty of those people, what they call is that their education level is 3rd grade level.
Not
There are
even
lots of
they're not even 3rd grade level either. They're like 1st
there
grade level.
there are a lot of people in college right now who don't know even the basics of a lot of different subjects, and it's sad. It is sad. But I don't think the answer is to get rid of the SATs or the state testing or the um I think state testing needs to be revamped. And instead of the state testing deciding whether a student passes a grade or not, state testing needs to be more of a evaluation on the teacher. Is the teacher in the school district doing everything they can to make sure their students excel?
I will say this because I have experienced this on my own. When I was basically in elementary school up to middle school, I never liked math. I hated math so freaking much. No teacher, and mind you, I had like two teachers in all of my classes, kind of except for gym, of course, because that's a whole other story. But and everything else, I have two teachers. But the second teachers mainly always have a favorite student. They always go for the favorite. And it wasn't until when I got to high school that I had my algebra teacher. She was my algebra teacher for my freshman year, and she fought for me personally to bring me to her algebra 2 class in my sophomore year. And then in my third and fourth year, I had a different teacher who also taught me how to do the math and geometry. And because of these two teachers, they actually pretty much shown me like hand one-on-one what I needed to do. And then once I figured that out, and once they showed it to me, every day on my lunch period, since I don't go to lunch, I would tutor the rest of the class, like one-on-one as well. So what did that tell you?
Well, but I think the problem is, especially like with today. So when you talk about like special education and stuff too, though, like you have a lot of learning support classes now in these school districts, and I think what a lot of people don't
I know
understand,
that too well. I know
So
that
do
too
I,
well.
but
unfortunately.
I think what a lot of people don't understand is schools get kickbacks, big, big, big kickback for every child that is in learning support and special education. So
And I'm one of
although
them.
although you sit there at an IEP meeting and you discuss ways that they can help your child thrive, they are not actually going to help your child thrive. They are going to do everything they can to make sure that your child stays in the learning support program and special education program, because once your child moves out of
And that's
the
where the
learning
money
support,
out. And that's where the
once
money is
your
at.
child moves out of it, there goes the money. And the school districts they want the money. Okay. Um, and the sad part is a lot of parents don't know what their rights are when it comes to IEPs, special education, and learning support. I, however, am one of them parents. I know every single right that I have. I have an IEP meeting on Tuesday that I'm going in to with the law printed out, things I want to highlight so that I can argue with my school. Just saying, I'm one of those moms. But a lot of parents don't. They just take what the school says.
She's about to get her mama bear side of her out.
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah. I
But
wanted to add one thing is even though we talked about, I like to say over the years I've read in articles about like doing away with music. In my mind, why you want to do away with that? Music is very important in our lives.
yeah, yeah. I don't think they're going to necessarily get rid of it. I know a lot of schools do want to, but um, that's just. I think if you're going to get rid of anything, get rid of sports. Get rid of
I
sports.
actually like sports. What's wrong with you?
No, I think sports is one of the biggest problems in public schools right now. Get rid of sports
You
because
know
what
what?
you're
That's probably going to
Alright, so I'm gonna
happen
put you on the spot
because
right now. Since you mentioned it.
that's probably,
I'm
I'm,
gonna put you on the spot
I'm,
right now.
I'm speculating they're going to do away with sports and because more and more issues about transgender getting into
well, no,
sport.
if you're going to talk
Or,
about the money that the schools have and how you don't have enough funding, yet the first things you're going to start dropping is music and everything. Like, no, get rid of the fucking sports. That's where 90% of your money's going.
Well, I'm gonna put you on the spot and say, why do you want to get rid of sports so bad?
Because they talk about funding, 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 and then they want to get rid of music classes. They want to get rid of gym classes. They want to get rid of this, art classes. Why? Why? You're going to keep sports there where 90% of your funding goes to for what? Because if you look at the statistics, a child has a better chance of being in a musical career, whether it be with an instrument or whatever, an art career, than they do a sports career. So we're going to pour millions of dollars a year in education funding into sports when the likely outcome of one of your sports like students actually becoming an Major League Baseball or NFL or hockey player is very, very, very low. But that's where you're going to put all your funding. Like, I don't
uh,
get it. If we have to prioritize here, and I'll be honest, sports is not a priority.
I'm going to tell you something. This actually happened, and I know what you're talking about. In sports, they had this student who were not being educated enough in college, and this is Auburn University. All they did is let him get into the sports and gave him everything he needs. 20 something years later, he goes, breaks the laws and all that. He gets in trouble, and they find out he can't read and write like he should have. And now Auburn has to take the responsibility to pay him to be educated,
That
Well,
is
that
just
was
even
a
though there
sad.
are 30 years past with this guy.
That is just sad.
That was actually a big issue with NFL for a long time too. But if you look at the NFL players now, a lot of them have college degrees. A lot of them do different things outside of the NFL, and a lot of them are actually securing themselves so that they know when their NFL career is over, they still have a job they can go to. They have a degree that they can, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that used to be an issue with the NFL as well, where you would have where some of them couldn't read, some of them couldn't write, some of them, and not just the minority ones either, even some of the white ones, because football was everything from elementary school all the way to college. It was football, 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 and you had these things where, and when you play sports in high school, and even when you play sports in college, you're supposed to keep a certain age grade average to even be able to play in a game. But
You need
those
to
were
be
getting
perfectly fit and everything just to stay in a game.
But those were overlooked. If they got a bad grade on a test, oh, it's okay. We're going to put it under the rug. We're not going to let anybody know. Let them play. They're our best player. But what you're doing is you're putting sports over this child's education. And what you're not realizing is in the long run, you're actually hurting the child. For what? So that your school can be on national news because you won a championship? Like, I think, I'm not saying that I don't like sports. I like sports. And I don't want to get rid of sports altogether. But I think we need to stop making sports the priority for a lot of these young boys, because the reality of it is 95% of them will never step foot in the NFL, the hockey league, the baseball league, none of them. And that's what we push on them their entire education. And it's a shame, because then they come back and they have nothing. They have nothing. You didn't teach them how to read. You pushed them under the rug when they got bad testing. Now what do they have? Nothing.
Yeah, they have absolutely nothing. I do believe what's her name? Nicki Minaj. I believe that she was doing like some sort of concert or something, some sort of contest or whatever. And I believe she went on Twitter, which is now formerly known as X, but everybody knows it as Twitter. But I do remember there's like a lot of college kids on there that were telling her, hey, I need money for college. And she was like, okay, I got you. So she literally decided on her own to do something, like something on the side. I can't remember what it was, but she set up like some sort of fund for all of these people that were asking her for money for their college tuition. And she was like, I don't care what you do, just graduate with your whatever you need to graduate, get your degree, and you're good. And I also seen Carly B on TikTok and on Instagram, where she pushes people. By people, I mean like her audience, which is like mainly all like college students and stuff like that. She was basically telling them, "Hey, do a business class. Take a business class, because you never know. Like in the future, if you want to make your own business, at least you know what you're doing. Take a business class."
Yes. But here's what I would say. If you're going to take a business class, don't vote Democrat, because Democrats want to take away business. Just saying.
But yeah, we're getting a little bit off topic. But going back to what we're saying.
But no, school choice education. And I think also with education, a lot of this push for the LGBTQ and trans shit too. That's going to be a hot topic going into the election for a lot of people. I'm one of those people. I don't care if your child is gay. I don't care if your child is trans. Like, that's between you and your child, whatever. But I think we need to be careful with boundaries. And I think that's the number one, and what the teachers are teaching. And I think that's the number one thing right now for a lot of parents, and not just Republican parents. And I think that is one of the hot topics that's going to sway minorities, and particularly Black communities as well. Because I'm telling you right now, a lot of even the Democrats, when it comes to your minorities, they are conservative Democrats. And you start pushing that progressive stuff really, really hard like that, you're going to lose them. And education is one of those things.
Yeah, I
I'm just
know.
saying.
Even Latinos as well, and Asians, like all of these guys. I wouldn't be surprised if they're teaming up and be like, "Well, if you're gonna screw us over, we're gonna screw you over."
Well, I'll be completely honest with you. If you want to know the number one reason why a lot of your minority family, why the Democrats don't like school choice,
Lay it on me because I have no idea.
because they know if school choice is a thing, a lot of them they will lose their minority kids, because your black communities, your Latino communities, they're all going to put their kids in these better schools, because the reality of it is they don't want their kids in the schools they're in now, but they have no other choice. If you give them a choice, your inner city schools would have no
Oh
children
yeah,
in them.
yeah, you're definitely correct because I know they were having. I say was it a little beginning of last year? They were actually fight. A lot of the parents were actually fighting the governor and the mayor as well. I believe so, and where the parent wanted to open up more charter schools because charter schools are better, obviously, because of private funding compared to public schools. So I guess the
Yeah.
government got pissed off and we're like, "No, we're not doing that. We prefer you put your kids in a public school, blah blah blah." And the parent kept fighting back, kept fighting back, kept fighting back. We're like, "Nope, we're not doing this." And I guess they
Be-
opened up more charter schools from the last time I read it.
because because they know that they will lose the minorities to the charter schools. They will. As soon as you give them a voucher and you say you can go to any school you want to, those inner city schools are going to be studentless. They're not going to have any students. And the reality of it is, I think that might be the best thing for these public schools. If you want children to stay in public schools, make them better. Do better at education. Do better at um, public schooling, because right now the public school system sucks, and they're afraid to actually let the parents determine education, because as soon as you put it in the parents' hands, those inner city schools are going to have no choice.
One of the things is we got 4 different types of education system in here in Georgia. One of them is public school, and private school are the most biggest one. The other one is called managed schools and charter. Managed school is like, to me, I think it's like gifted kids that are above average than others, and I think that's what magnet is. And correct me wrong
No,
if
you're
I'm
right.
wrong. Nick.
You're right. But I don't necessarily see, as I will say this as a Christian, I do not recommend private religious schooling.
Well, I know some of
And
them are not really all that religious.
well, no, here's my only biggest strife with them. A lot of them do not have the funding and the capability to educate and um, take
And
care of.
teachers not paid enough either.
Well, hold
Well,
on.
if that's the case, well, if that's the case, then
Well,
explain why majority of these kids are doing better than public school kids.
can I finish? Because I didn't even finish. All I said was educate. Y'all didn't let me finish.
Go ahead, Monique. Shut
To
up, Chuck.
to educate special needs children. Okay, private schools are more for the kids who don't have special needs, don't have learning disabilities, don't need extra IEP stuff. When you start getting into special needs, IEP, learning support, stuff like that, private schools suck. They suck. Okay. And so realistically, you're going to end up taking your child out of private school and putting them into a public school or a charter school, because the private school is not going to be able to do anything for you. And you've paid thousands of dollars for your child to go to this school just for the school to tell you, well, we can't help your child. So I don't recommend private school.
But
There are
they do
very few
recommend
private schools that are extremely expensive, but of course,
But
that's a different story.
So you do
I will
recommend
also
charter school.
say, I do recommend charter schools. I have no issue with charter schools. I will also say that when it comes to private schooling, um, you pay thousands of dollars, and you and you think, oh well, I'm taking my child to a religious school. They're gonna learn religious. You got to watch religious schools too. I mean, you can put your child in a private school and they could still be learning LGBTQ plus shit. Okay, so I'm just saying, like, you have to know
So you
what
have to,
you're.
you basically have to research.
You have to research. Like a lot of the, I mean, I know a lot of people are like, go to private school, go to private school. Like when you look on Twitter and there's these things about like LGBTQ in public schools and stuff, and everybody's on the comments talking about put them in private school. And I'm like that one that's like, no, don't put them in private school unless you know what private school you're putting them in. Because I mean, if you look at the church in general right now, I mean, the church is split on LGBTQ plus issues. So you have to know what school, what private school you're putting your kid in. If that's your biggest thing with public school, then you have to be very careful what private school you're putting your child in, because you might be putting them in a private school that's teaching them the same crap. Okay, like let's just be honest. I like charter schools because charter schools are pretty much right down to the point. We're going to do your math, we're going to do your science, we're going to do your history, we're going to do your English. Anything else, you can
But
go home and
do they
Google.
keep religion in, or do they keep delivering religion out?
Of charter?
Tell you
Yeah.
something about my nephew Richard told me about Christian Academy School
Yeah.
is that the public school, you learn better in the public school than you do in the Christian. And their education is different.
I disagree with that. I disagree with that. Because if that was actually the case, then we wouldn't have this big debate going about school choice right now, and parents would be satisfied with what is being taught in public schools. And the reality of it is that's just not where we're at. That's just not where we're at. In fact, if you look at public schools, the amount of kids that are actually quitting school and not graduating is at an all-time high right now. Kids aren't even graduating. The graduation class numbers are dwindling down dramatically in public.
But that
Which
still doesn't
really,
answer my question, though.
what was your question? Sorry.
I said that do they keep religion in charter school, or do they keep them out?
Religion has nothing to do with charters.
Oh, because I figured for some reason I always got them confused.
No, charter schools are state funded.
Okay.
Yeah. Although there are some programs for private schools that are state funded, but no, charter schools aren't religious.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah. They teach better. Because like I said, charter schools focus more on your academics than other stuff. And I think like if you wanted to actually learn history, charter school would be the place that you go. Like you don't want to like not what they call history.
Speaking of that, my mind frame, why is it a big fight that people seem to have a distrust or not liking the idea of charter school? What is the big issue of that?
Because they don't want to lose the public school system. Because if they lose the public school system, then the cities lose money, the districts lose money. You do realize that school districts get money for every child in their school, right?
Yeah. That one I knew.
So, for example, now this is just for a special education student. So, in my school district, my current school district where my kids go, for special education, my district for my child gets $17,000.
Good Lord.
Yeah. So it's like when you look at it and you're like, well, she has an IEP, she's in learning support, but she's not really learning much of anything because she's still on this level when she's in this grade. What's the why is she still in learning support? Oh, because you're getting $17,000 off of her being in learning support. That's why. And you can actually, so like, let me look up my school district. Because
But
this is
going
actually,
around, it's actually quite. The stats have to be quite interesting to see. To see.
okay. So my
Okay.
current school district right now, 2024, that's what I want. 97 teachers. What? Okay. So their total revenue. Okay, so the school district spending slash student is 15,366.
Which, if you look at it appears like it's not a lot, but it's definitely a lot.
Wait, is that in 1 year?
Well, I don't know what you're looking at.
What?
Okay, repeat that, Monique. I'm sorry.
What?
I guess she surprised herself.
24 million. What? Wait, is that in 1 year? Is that in 24 million? The school district's total revenue is $4 million.
24 million is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, that's what she's saying.
Are
24
you?
million to what? The LD student or what?
No, 24 million in total revenue.
Oh, okay.
That's a lot of work. What? Where's that money going?
To the migrants.
We don't have migrants in our city.
Oh, not yet.
That is freaking ridiculous. Okay, so their average for student to get per student is 15,000. They're getting 17,000, 2,000 extra off of special needs. That is freaking ridiculous.
So that sounds like they can make everybody special needs students if they could.
Well, they can't make everybody. They need to have a physical disability.
Right?
Not like they're gonna wake up one day and be like, "Hey, I have a disability."
That's funny. It says percent of teachers certified. 100%. I would hope so. I would hope 100% of your teachers are certified or they shouldn't be teaching.
She said, "I hope."
Okay, so here, this is
Yeah.
my school district. I'm gonna put my school district on blast. Okay, so and this is because we were talking about like the percentage of like who read, who can't, right, and their proficient levels for the children in these districts. So at my school district, it's 49% of elementary students tested at or above the level for reading, 37 tested at or above the level for math, 49% of middle school students tested at or above, and 30 for English and reading. 37 tested that math. 72% of high school tested at or above reading, and 58 tested at or above for math.
That's crazy numbers.
Okay, so high school college readiness score. A 0 to 100 index value reflecting the extent 12th graders took AP and IB exam. Okay, so out of 100, my school's high school college readiness score is 14.6.
Is that good or is that bad?
Out of 100 and it's 14.6.
Well, I
Do you think
mean,
That's less than 20%. That's not good to me. If I'm trying
no?
to,
that's horrible.
That is ridiculous.
If anything, that is just freaking depressing.
That is ridiculous.
You know, as far as important for the education of United States, makes me think, besides third world countries, where our education is not in par where people in like in Asia or in Europe has got a lot better education system than we do. And I feel like we need to get up to that par to be competitive to the world. We don't
We do.
need just
We
we
do,
don't
but
need
unfortunately, we
just
don't have that power.
we
Okay,
don't
so
need to have like 10,000 people who are elite
no.
that can do. We need like a couple million people that can do Asian and Europe competition in education.
Okay, so we've been on education for a while. Let's to the next topic. So we got immigration. I say close the border, get them out of here. End of story.
I'm with you on that. Oh,
No,
and
don't
also
you
throwing this
realize
out there.
we are descendants of immigrants here in this country?
Here's my thing. I'm
Yeah,
gonna put it short and simple to the
legal
point.
immigrants.
I'm gonna put it short, simple to the point.
Well,
I
I don't
have
know about what
no.
the Native Americans have
How
to
about you
say.
shut up
But
and let
go
me
ahead.
finish? How about you shut up and let me finish? Here's the thing. I have no problem with immigration whatsoever. If you're under a humanitarian program and you're doing it the legal way, great. If you're coming in through with a visa, that's perfectly fine. I'm all for legal immigration. What I'm not for is come all, come one, come all, and everything else. I am not for that.
Me either. I do think we can make the pathway to citizenship a little bit easier than it is now. But I think we need to close the border, have entry points where they can come in and seek asylum and stuff like that. But not just come across and go wherever the hell they want and nobody know where they are, and like it's ridiculous.
I will say this is the method asylum, Nick, is seeking asylum, especially in the United States, to prove it is extremely, extremely difficult to prove. I'm just throwing that out there.
Well, I think to a point it has to be difficult to prove because you have to be able to prove that there's an actual reason that you're seeking asylum.
Like, you need to have been in jail in your country in order for you to be proven, and even that is difficult to prove.
Well, I mean, I don't think you necessarily have to have been put in jail, but you have to have been be able to prove that you've been tortured or that you're running for actual reason. Here's what kills me though, okay? The countries that actually need our support and our help are being denied, and while you have thousands and thousands pouring in from these other countries, and it's like the vice president Harris goes up there and she tells the Venezuelans, "Stay where you are." She tells the Haitians, "Stay where you are." We're like, "No, don't come to America." They need our help. They need our help. Why are we telling them to stay where they are and not to come and to fight within their own place when we're telling everybody else to come?
And I even told
I agree
you,
with
I
you,
even told
Lene,
you about
because that
one Central America
that
country as
has
well that needs
been
to come, that
one
needs to be here.
one of that has been one of the things on my mind lately. You know, let's say for example, all these people coming from the Middle East. I mean, not Middle East, but um, Central America. Excuse me. All coming in the United States. And you know, I know United States has got this about communists and all this bullshit. But here's the thing about it is, look at the mistake that we did with Cuba. We completely cut Cuba off just because they went to communists. And and I'm gonna go this far, allowing Cuba to go with Russia that brings nuclear missile. You can read it up during when President John F. Kennedy did put a stop to that. He really stepped his foot forward to that. See, here's the thing about it is that we should not have taken Cupid out of the equation. So
I
we
will
need to
say this,
help.
Rix.
We need to
Cuba
keep
is.
them on our side.
I will say this, Rix. Cuba is not in Central America. I'm just throwing that out there.
Well, I'm just giving you an example. You know, we could have helped Cuba, and we wouldn't have to worry about nuclear missile crisis during the 60s.
Do you
And
want to
see,
know my?
and,
Go ahead.
and if and if we had been more open to Cuba, they wouldn't been on Russia's side in to start with.
I feel like Rick has an issue with Russia.
Do you
But
know what? Oh, he's in love with Putin. But you know what my favorite my okay, so here's the thing.
but
They
but
don't
here
they don't
but here the thing is about like people in Central America. We need to help those people. I know it's going to cost money. I know it's going to take human resources, but we can help, and that would curb. But here's the thing about it is, even if these people come in this country, I know they want to limit the number of people. If you're going to let these people come in like Biden are doing, or what it sounds like, make these people become beneficial of this country. They don't need to be in the country roaming around like stupid nomads.
I am all about helping people that need help. But I think we need to go with the America first mindset. We have thousands and thousands and thousands of homeless Americans here that are still sitting on the streets of city
And
after
also
city.
out of work too. Add that to that.
And we are bringing in these immigrants and we are feeding them, we are sheltering them. And when we're feeding them and we're sheltering them, we're putting more Americans in the streets because we're taking shelter space for Americans and they're being put out on the streets with their children. I mean, look what's happening in New York. These communities, they're going into the food banks that they rely on for food and dinner for their children. And they're being turned away because there's no more food because there's a long line of illegal immigrants waiting for their food. We're hurting the American people, and I think, I'm sorry, this is an unpopular opinion. We need to lead American first, worry about our citizens. When we have our citizens taken care of, then we can worry about other people. Our children should not be going hungry while we're ensuring that the children of illegal immigrants have food. That's just, I'm sorry. No, that's not how that works. That's one thing that pisses me off.
No, and not only that though, it's like, because I mentioned this yesterday as well, that I have no idea how or when, or even managed to do it, that they decided, that Eric Adams decided that they have $53 million to give to all of these freaking illegal immigrants. And not only that, they're giving them free phones, they're giving them free pretty much everything. And then on top of the $53 million, they're giving them a prepaid credit card. And I will say it again for those of you, and I will repeat it again. They're paying a prepaid credit card of $1,000, which gets refilled, alright, pretty much every single month. So basically, for example, if they got one today, then then next month in March, or whatever day that they got it, they will get another $1,000. So, and meanwhile, those of us that bust our ass working every day, make sense.
Well, no, I'm not even worried about the ones that bust their ass working every day because you should be busting your ass to get what you get. I'm worried about we're giving these illegal immigrants $1,000 a month on a prepaid credit card. Yet, what are we doing for the homeless children? Are we giving them and their family $1,000 a month visas? No.
And also hungry ones too.
Why are we allowing American citizens to stay poor on the streets? But we all of a sudden have $53 million to give illegal immigrants $1,000 a month. Why?
And free housing on top of that.
That $53 million needs to go to the homeless Americans because you have children sleeping on the streets, American children, while you're worried about illegal immigrant children. I'm sorry. No.
Can I say something?
Yes.
You know, in this country, people look at, the rest of the world, the people look at the United States and the best country in the world. But when they start hearing about there's hungry kids in school, there's sick kids, hungry kids, sick kids, homelessness, they're like, wait a minute, United States is the best country in the world.
We no longer are.
We do.
Yeah, but that's the thing. The United States used to be the greatest country in the world. No, it's not anymore. Has never been.
Oh, it has been like that for hundreds of years. It's just that United States don't admit there are small. I'm gonna tell you what. Let's say back in the '60s, you don't hear that much. There were poor communities. Yes, there were. You just didn't hear about them.
But I think here's what I think. I think the party, the candidate that goes into these struggling cities that are dealing with immigration, that are dealing with education, but especially immigration right now. They go into the if a Republican wants to win, they need to go into these cities and say, "Look, we're on your side. We're on your side. We're going to help get your community back. We're going to help you not have this in your city." They need to go boots on the ground. Don't stand on a pulpit from 1,000 miles away and talk about what you're going to do for those inner cities and those communities that are being overrun by the immigration crisis. Actually go into these cities, meet with the people, listen to what they have to say, and tell them, like, look, we're with you. We want to close the border. We want these people out of your communities. We want to help you get those results. Because I think right now, especially in places in New York City, San Francisco, Chicago, some of the places where you're seeing these places in Texas, if you get boots on the ground and you go in there and you tell them, we're on your side, we're going to fix this for you, and you give them actual ways you're going to fix it, and you actually show up in the communities and you start bringing them food, you start making sure they have what they're not getting right now because of this immigration crisis, they're going to vote for you. But one of the things that you have to make sure you also do is when you make these promises, you got to keep these promises. So don't just say we're going to help you get your food banks back. Actually go in there and start bringing them food. If their food banks are being closed down because they run out of food, then you go into the community with food and you give the people that didn't get food because the line was too big, you give them food. Actually do something. The actions have to speak louder than the words coming out of the candidate's mouth. You can say anything you want to say, but if your actions don't meet your words, it's not going to help. That's what Republicans need to do. Boots on the ground in these cities. They also need to work on education because I'm telling you, that's another thing people are getting fed up with this education shit. I don't care about LGBTQ, please, whatever, and trans and all. No. The math scores, the English scores, the reading scores, that's what needs to come up. People need to start learning more history. They need to know their shit. They don't need to know about 50 million freaking genders and stuff like that. Like, I'm sorry, that doesn't matter to people. And this could be look, the whole inclusion and education and stuff could be as simple as this. Respect everybody. That's all you need to know. Doesn't matter if his family looks different than you, or it doesn't matter if he looks different than you, or she looks different. Respect everybody. It's that simple. That's inclusion. Regardless of what they might look like or talk like or whatever, they are human. They bleed the same color as you. Respect them. That's all children need to learn. Respect everybody. They don't need to know anything else. Point blank, period.
Yeah, not only
When
that,
you
and,
said
and, and
that,
not only
Marie,
that, I will say
yeah,
this too, especially we'll get to you in a second, but I just want to throw this out there too, while it's still in my head, is the fact that going back on immigration and what you just said. Not only that though, it's like they need to see, the politician needs to see for them damn self that, matter of fact, is that just recently they decided to like a couple of migrants decided to beat up an NYPD officer, right? And of course they apparently they were arrested, but then they were let go by the wonderful self on crime Manhattan district attorney. Alright? And of course everybody got pissed off about it. And then of course at the same time they let them go. They were walking out of the prison with showing every single person walking out the middle finger. The same middle finger to the country that let them inside. I'm sorry, no. If that's gonna be the case,
Well,
then kick them out.
they let all but one go. One of them is still sitting in jail taking the fall for all of
Oh
this.
yeah, that's very good. Oh, that's wonderful.
And
One
and, and,
person.
and, then, and then they say, oh, well, we press charges on all of them. But you do realize you just let them walk out of the jail, okay? Out of the courthouse, out of the jail. If you think they're coming back for their hearing, you're out of your fucking mind.
And not
You're
to mention,
never
this
going
is
to
a
see
state
them
with
again.
no. Not to mention, this is a state where pretty much everything goes.
see, that's another thing about crime is being tough on crime is that you got to understand that, you don't need to give these people easy bail. And I know you don't want to give them outrageous, expensive bails either. But here's the thing
The
about it
bill needs
is,
to fit the crime. That's basically what I'm trying to say.
I'm sorry. What they did was attempted fucking murder on police officers. There is no fucking bail. You rot until your hearing.
but of course, there are some cases where there's no bail. Like, for an example, that woman that murdered my brother, they did not give her bail. Thank goodness
She shouldn't have had bail. She shouldn't. She should have rotted.
Yeah.
And
I
she
agree.
still is in jail. And I hope she stays there for the rest of her life.
And what these people did to these NYPD officers was attempted murder. I'm sorry. When you sit there and you stomp on somebody's head like that, that's attempted murder. There should be no bail. You should not be walking the streets. You should be behind bars. And I guarantee you the ones that they did let go are already on their way back to Mexico because they know Mexico won't make them come back for their hearing.
No, they can
Well,
go to
that's the
any
only
country and
problem
they wouldn't
about it
send them back either.
is when you send some of those people that are illegal back to the country and they come back to the United States, we're seeing them again committing another crime. We arrest them and send them. So we need to stop that cycle too. Throw them in jail.
So I believe that our 2024 election will be Biden and Trump again.
Yeah, which is
I think
basically
that's
a rematch of
what it comes
2020.
down to.
I see Trump winning by a landslide.
Well, we said
I
that
see
last
Trump is
time and
going
then
to
he
win
lost.
because everybody hates Biden. And I'm one of them. I don't hate him, but I think he is just not doing the job of what any president would do. He's absolutely, in my opinion, the worst president that I ever known in my life.
Well, here's the thing. Trump's minority support has actually declined. It's still not as high as we would want it to be. Well, it's not as high as we'd want it to be, but it's climbing. And I mean, you can Google this. It's out there. Biden's minority support is actually declining, especially in Black communities.
Which is not surprising.
No,
that's what I saw on the news earlier today. Black voters are up for grabs. That's exactly the headline right there.
And I do want to clarify that the ones that are dropping from Biden aren't necessarily going to Trump. A lot of them are undecided, or like I think it was like 20% are undecided or won't vote at all. But at the same time, I'll say this: a no vote, not voting for Biden is a vote for Trump, because if you put in for a third party candidate that doesn't have the likelihood to win, you're just putting votes into Trump's hand. But I think right now a lot of the ones that are falling from Biden but aren't going to Trump, they're more confused than anything, because they're kind of in the middle where it's like Republicans aren't doing shit for me or my community. Democrats aren't doing shit for me or my community. So it's not that they don't want to vote. It's that they don't have anybody up
that they want, that they see fit.
Well, not that they necessarily like, but that will actually help them in their community. And I think that's important. I think when it comes to especially minority groups, whether it be the Black communities, the Spanish communities, whatever, we need to go in there with political education that's unbiased. Okay? So what I mean by that is when we go into these communities to talk about voting and politics and, you know, the importance of voting local, federal, whatever, we need to go in there, and the first question we need to ask them is, what are the topics that matter the most to you? And if they say abortion, for example, then we say, okay, this is the Republican platform on abortion. This is the Democrat platform on abortion. Give them both platforms. Which one appeals to you?
Depends what you're saying.
Yeah, and then say, okay, so now you had the Republican, you read the Republican platform on abortion, you read the Democrat platform on abortion. Which one aligns more to what your opinion on abortion is? And then they say, okay, I like the Republican platform on abortion. Okay, now that you've decided that, you know, you like how the Republicans look at your strongest, your most hot topic. Here are the candidates running in the Republican offices. There's the president. There's senator for your state, whatever your local politics. Here are the Republicans and what they believe in and their record and then go from there. Because I think right now what we have a lot of, especially in the inner city communities, Republicans aren't going into these inner city communities very well at all. They're really not. I'll admit
Yeah, I
that.
see more Democrats going into the city than I see anybody
But the
else.
problem is these Democrats are going in there and they're not giving both platforms. They're not giving both sides. They're saying, here, this is what I do, this is what I would do for you, this is what, here, take this is Democrats, blah, blah. No, regardless
Stop the damn promises.
regardless of what side you're on, we need people going into the communities without a bias. I don't care if you're Republican, conservative, Democrat, liberal, progressive, whatever you claim to be. When you go in to educate voters and register people for voting, you need to do it unbiased. Have both platforms ready. Ask them what their hot topic is. Show them what both sides say about the topic. Let them decide what they like better. Then you educate them on the candidates based on what side they choose. That's how it needs to be done.
And I agree, 100%.
And that's why I am conservative, because I am all about individualism. I do not believe in identity politics. I do not believe that you vote for the one who can do more for you and your people. I believe that you vote based on what people can do, what they can do for the country. And I think right now the biggest question that this is the issue. The biggest question that the Democrats are asking is, what can my government do for me? Right?
Yeah.
When the reality should be, what can I do for my government and for the people around me and my community? We don't need the government to come into the communities and run the communities. We need the people to come into the communities and run the communities. So instead of what can my government do for me, what can my government bring into my community, we need to be asking, what can I do for my community? Right? And that's what individualism is. What can I do for myself, my family, and my neighbor, the people around me? Not what can the government come in and do for us. I don't believe in voting because, oh, well, that person's gay and I'm gay. Let's vote for that person. No. And a lot of that right now, a lot of people are voting Democrat. And I'll even say Republican. Fear. Their voting is based on fear. You have the Democrats saying, oh, well, if you vote for Donald Trump, he's a racist, authoritarian,
everything, he's a mean man.
And he's going to get rid of gay marriage. And he's going to, they even went so far to say that President Trump was going to outlaw interracial marriage. Like, come on. No Republican president has ever ran on or stated that they were going to get rid of interracial marriage. But the Democrats actually have people believing that Trump wants to get rid of interracial marriage. And it's ridiculous. Like, and I'm not lying about this. Like, if you actually, Biden, right? One of his things was actually, I'm on his the whitehouse.gov right now, by the way, so that's where I'm reading it from. So one of his things is protected marriage for LGBTQI plus and interracial couples.
That makes absolutely no sense.
Exactly. Like, it's like secured protection for millions of same-sex and interracial couples. Who ever said that they were going to come after these? Especially interracial marriage. Who ever said that they were going to come and they were going to attack interracial marriage?
Like, that's been protected for years.
Why
sound like they're stirring up the fight? That's
exactly why are we using fear tactics for votes? It makes no sense.
It's not that it doesn't make any sense, but it's just not productive. Period.
It's ridiculous. You want to hear a fun fact? That, like, while they said here they try to paint Biden out to be like anti-LGBTQ and all this crap, right? Did y'all know that he was actually the first presidential candidate ever to actually walk on stage with the LGBTQ flag in his hand?
Wait, who?
Trump.
Oh yeah, I knew that. I actually saw the video of him with the.
That's the first I've heard.
Really? Well, Griggs, you need to Google that. They paint him out to be so anti-LGBTQ and anti-gay, yet he was the first one and still the only one, because Biden didn't even do it, to walk on stage holding a pride flag in his.
And not to mention, didn't he bring somebody who was openly gay or something into the cabinet?
Yeah, like he's not anti-LGBT plus. He's anti accept everything about me or I'm gonna cancel you. I don't care if you're a religious church who's against homosexuality. Marry me. I don't care if you're a Christian church baker. Make my cake. That's what he's against. He doesn't care what you do in your bedroom. He doesn't care who you marry. He cares when you take your personal preference and your opinions and your whatever, and you push them on everybody else and tell them that they have to bow down to you. And that's what a lot of conservatives don't like. You do you, I'll do me. Don't make me bow down to you. And like, no, you can't. I'm sorry. But because he said, well, you can't. He passed an executive order. Hold on. Turn you up. Where trying to make it so that they couldn't sue religious groups, right? I know he's anti-LGBTQ. He won't let us church if they won't marry it. You shouldn't sue the church if they won't marry you, okay? Like, point blank, period. Get out of here.
You know, last night I saw something about Trump said something about give Bud Light the second chance. Does anybody know what the issue was going on with Bud Light? Anybody knows about what that was all that about?
Yeah, Dylan something that I keep forgetting the person's last name.
They screwed themselves because they did a campaign thing with a transgender.
A transgender, yeah. And
so,
people had backlash. Bars had backlash. Everybody.
I mean, even Target had a backlash.
And you know what crossed my mind? Why Trump said give Bud Light the second chance? Probably they asked Trump to vouch for them again. So, and I believe they're going to support Trump's campaign.
Well, no,
and that's my opinion why Trump is doing that. But other than that.
Well, no, actually, that's not why he's doing that. So here's what happened. The parent company of Bud Light came out, and Budweiser, actually, but came out and said that they don't, like, that's not what they're about. That's not what their values are. That they're family and they're da. And trying to save face because they lost a lot of money with that campaign. Okay, like they upset a lot of people. And
they shot at their own feet when they did that. Go ahead, Lynette.
So they announced that, and they're going back to the horses. They're going back to the family-oriented commercials and stuff like that. They're bringing back the Clydesdales, blah, 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 blah. And we're going to see the first commercial in how many years that features the Clydesdales during the Super Bowl. Like, they made this big announcement. And so Trump was pretty much saying, yeah, I think they do need a second chance. They screwed up. At least they're admitting they screwed up, and they're trying to make it right. Let's give them another chance. I see nothing wrong with that.
I don't see nothing wrong with that either.
In other news, y'all do know
Trump and Bud Light Corporation.
Elon Musk and Gina, what's her last? The lady that was in The Mandalorian.
And Gia got that or whatever her last name is.
Something like that.
Yes.
Well, they are suing Disney.
For what?
Because remember, Disney let her go from The Mandalorian because of her conservative posts that she made on Twitter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Now I remember that.
Years ago.
Yeah, so they are suing Disney, and that's going to be interesting to watch. And free speech is another thing I think is going to make or break election, especially right now. I mean, like last week, I think it was last week or the week before, NBC refused to air Trump's acceptance speech um, for winning the primary, I think in Iowa.
Oh wow.
And like they wouldn't air it, and they gave like this explanation about why they wouldn't air it and everything else. And it's just because like we're committed to giving you actual news, and we know that he's just gonna lie and blah, blah, like. And here's the issue with that: you're censoring. You're censoring what the American people see and what they hear. This is not freaking China. We don't censor what we put on the TV. We don't censor the news that people are allowed to watch and not watch.
Even on social media, even on social media, people are trying like so hard to censor everybody.
Like, and here's the problem: everything that they paint Trump out to be is exactly what they are doing. You calling him an authoritarian, yet you're refusing to air his speech. Why? What are you so afraid of? What are you so afraid of? Right now, the Democrats and the news media are acting like Nazi Germany. Well, we're just going to show you what we think you need to see, what we want you to see. We're not going to show you anything else. This is what you need to see. This is how you need to think. And if you see or you think any other way, then you're against democracy. You're against America. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. You're a this and that, blah, blah. I'm telling you, people need to wake up to what's happening right now, because when your news channels start censoring what you can see and what you're not going to see as far as politics
doing
goes, that we have a big problem. We have a huge problem, and people in America need to wake up. They need to wake up. Not to this extent, though, Rick. Like, they're not airing Trump speeches. Like, what if he wins president? Are you just never going to show him on your channel? Like, this is something, yeah, they've censored what people see and stuff like that before, but not to this extent where they're not going to show you Joe Biden's opponent at all.
But they have no issue with showing Joe Biden's old bullcrap.
Because this is beyond what they've done before, and it's people need to be very, very. They need to watch. They need to watch, because this is not going.
But anyway, like I said, it's gonna be like a two-parter. So apparently, we got the first part out of the way. We are going to continue this next week as well. But yeah, you guys have any final thoughts? Any final comments?
Yeah. Regardless of what political side you're on, do your research on your candidates, know what you're voting for, know what you're voting against, educate yourself, especially in the local elections that will be coming up, primaries, just know your stuff. Don't vote just to vote. Don't vote just to get the other guy out. If you don't like Biden, look at your options. If you don't like Trump, look at your options. Don't vote for Biden just because you hate Trump, and don't vote for Trump just because you hate Biden. Know what you're voting for and what you're voting against. That's very important. Like, don't vote down party line. That's my advice.
And I agree 100%.
Research is important, and don't look at all the news like, oh, this is what Biden's done, this is what Trump done, and all that. There's got to be a way where I'm gonna say this. I like to find where there's unbiased news or unbiased report. But to be honest, all reports are biased. All reports are selected.
That's
if you want unbiased American election news, go to any outlet that's not American. Seriously, go to any outlet that's not American.
She's like, go to any outlet that isn't American. That's hilarious.
Like BBC. I think BBC is more aimed to American thing.
Well, BBC, yes and no, because you have to remember BBC is UK, and the UK is just as bad as America right now. Okay, just saying.
I say that because BBC and also there's BBC America.
Yeah, but yeah, if you want actual honest news about what's going on in America, don't do American news at all. Go outside of it. Don't do Fox, CNN, don't do CBS, like don't do
Or
NBC,
ABC.
go outside of America because all of them they all have some kind of bias. Whether it's Democrat, Republican, whatever. Go outside of America. Actually, do your research. Like that's my advice. Like research, know what you're doing, and get involved. We'll talk more about local elections next week, but research your local elections. Know who's running for mayor or governor, or and especially when it
And I'm
comes
gonna have
to
fun with that because I have so many opinion on that.
local elections. Like I'm digging all in local elections next week. We're gonna talk about school board elections. We're gonna talk about borough and city elections. All of it, because it all matters. And I'll be honest with you, these local elections actually matter more than the presidential election. Okay? Presidential election is important, but your local elections mean more for you in your particular community than the presidential election. So we're going to dig into that.
Yeah. So there you go. So basically next week we're gonna be doing all of that. But like I said, as far as the original topic that we talked about, which is like the immigration, we are expanding on that at some point. I believe maybe, possibly, I don't know when.
The schedule is on there.
Yeah, but we'll figure that out. But anyway, next week we'll be also, if you still wanna like make out your comments and such, feel free to post them out because we really want to get some voices out here.
Yeah.
Alright, so everybody take care and goodbye.